killed my damn hair.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're live from Los Angeles. This is Mondays with Wallace. I'm your host, Wallace Peoples, and we speak about everything cannabis, anything cannabis, everything. You are on Flight 420 live from Los Angeles. Thanks for being aboard. We will take your calls at 424-227-9461. We're live on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, under Mondays with Wallace. I'm Wallace Peoples. I'm a board-certified pharmacist, and we discuss cannabis everything, anything you can think of from a live perspective. We are, I say we're from Los Angeles, but this is really Hollywood, and it's every Mondays in Monday with Wallace. We explore everything from legalization, our financial perspectives, and the impact of cannabis and cannabis on the quality of your life. I'm not really an advocate for the use of cannabis, but I typically want people to be knowledgeable about cannabis. We have our expert and studio guest in-house, Steve Cotton of SC Edibles. Steve, how are you?
Excellent. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, we are so thankful to have you here today. Today is going to be our Halloween edition of Mondays with Wallace. Today we're going to talk about trick-or-treat and candy and trick-or-treat candy and
what are you going to be for Halloween, Wallace?
You know, I don't think the last time I did the Halloween thing, my wife and I dressed as a cue. What are you, the dice? We dressed as dice. In the past, I think I dressed as, the guy with the big clock around his, who used to have? Flavor Flav, yeah, we were Flavor Flav once, and so I don't think I'm going to dress up this year. Halloween is Wednesday. Do you know how Halloween came around? Halloween came about?
How did Halloween start? What's the story on Halloween?
Well, actually, Halloween started just about 3,000 years ago. Halloween was from really an Ireland thing, an Irish thing. And what would happen is people would actually want to go from house to house looking for food and things like that. And when people migrated here from Ireland, they actually started to support the idea of Halloween. And it really started in Massachusetts. That's how Halloween came about. And
amazing. I've seen the trick-or-treaters out early this year. I was shopping at Whole Foods, and in Playa del Rey, all the trick-or-treaters were going around the neighborhood over there.
Well, I'll tell you, trick-or-treat has really become one of our favorite holidays. In fact, my kids are big supporters of trick-or-treat. There's an area in Santa Monica that's just a fantastic area for trick-or-treat, that 26th area. Have you ever done that?
I've heard of it. I heard everyone gets the best candy over there.
You absolutely have to go.
People in Inglewood don't even open their doors for Halloween, man.
Oh, come on.
Lights are off, no decoration. We won't even open the doors in Inglewood. You got to go to the rich areas to get some candy.
Well, I'll tell you, I totally get that, but you absolutely have to go to that area. So, we were looking at some of the issues based, relative to candy and giving candy. And I'm not really a supporter of smoking or ingesting marijuana, but I definitely explore the idea because that's what we do. I was looking at some of the candies that are available, and some of the candies that are available look oddly like real candy. Some of the gummies,
the edibles, you mean?
The edibles, yeah. Now you do SC Edibles. Is making candy, is that something that's very difficult?
No, it's easy and it's fun. You just got to get the recipe down and then master that recipe. Just like making your mom's brownies. Once you make them for the first time, they don't come out just like it. But as you make the brownies over and over, you get to master the recipe.
I see.
And they do look very similar to the real thing.
What really is remarkable to me is typically the packaging on these things is so good. And what I see, just looking at some of the things that are available, I see Sunday Scaries. Sunday Scaries looks like it's gummies for anxiety. So if I hear a gummy for anxiety, is that something that would be indica, or is
sounds like a CBD product to me?
CBD product?
Yeah, something for anxiety. It sounds like a CBD product. It may not have any THC at all.
What is it? You mean, I have something that's called Calm or Relax. It's in the little pipe thing.
Oh, it's a vape. It's a vape pen.
Yeah. I like those.
We are grateful to have Carol Lemire with us.
It really does. Does keep me calm.
Yeah.
I liked one, though, my friend gave me better. It had 25 hits in it.
That's the
It
disposable
lasted me
one.
forever.
Yeah.
She was laughing because we were at a club and she was giving them to everybody.
She's like, you're still hitting that same pen I gave you?
Now, my son supposedly gave me one, but there was one hit in it. It's like, give me a break.
Carol, you know, this is our Halloween edition of Mondays with Wallace. Are you giving candy out this year?
They don't come to my door. I live in a security building and nobody They go over to Santa Monica or up in the hills or Westchester. I usually go to Josephus and give out candy.
Oh, is that right?
Carol's giving out treats every day, man. I seen her today. She had treats for the dog in the car. Every day's Halloween with Carol.
Oh, he did eat it.
We want to thank Lee Michaels and Josefa Salinas for having us here in the Power of Voices studio. This is Mondays with Wallace. Today is our Halloween edition, and we're talking about the various candies. We're talking about hard candy. I see blueberry raspberries. You know what concerns me, because I do have grandkids, and the big thing with grandparents, my kids, they tend to think grandparents are just over the board on everything. And I'll even, when my kids are around me, you can see that they have a certain apprehension. Like, I'm going to do something. They
know
think,
Grandpa has some goodies.
well, they think, but I would not, I'd be a little afraid to have some of this stuff around the house just because it looks so good. It's so enticing.
Oh, you keep edibles in your house?
Well, I don't, but we do have just an abundance of candy. If you're ever at my house, we have a eat all policy. If you got it, it's basically
It's for
available.
everybody.
And anyone basically is entitled to anything that we have in our house. And I'd be a little concerned. So I wouldn't have edibles in my house just because of the risk of kids eating or ingesting edibles.
It's a serious issue. That's why packaging is so important. As of July 1st, the new regulations took place with edibles and packaging, trying to make it real clear so people know that this product is not a regular candy bar or a regular chocolate bar. It has THC in it.
Yeah, but little kids don't read.
They don't read.
Open a package now.
You're right. It's colorful and it looks like candy, and they're eating that thing.
When you see some of the things that are available, I see Baked Brothers peach rings, and that's quality THC. THC is tetrahydrocannabis.
Something like that. I couldn't even tell you what THC stands for.
Oh, is that right? Well, that's what it is. There's Zoot.
I know it's the part that gets you high.
It's the part
Now,
that
do you remember last week I was telling you about these doctors that are these holistic? Actually, I was walking at the beach. He probably had 20 of us surrounding him just talking about all the healthy stuff and cannabis. I brought that up to him. He said 2 of his friends were bunged to death that were holistic. He said he does not even go online and let anybody know that he's a holistic doctor.
Carol thinks all the holistic doctors are getting killed off in L.A.
You go Google it. It's true.
If we have a little
They're taking
background,
out the doctors.
last week we chatted about hemp and some of the really nice qualities of hemp. And Carol had mentioned, if I can provide a little background, Carol had mentioned that she had felt some of the holistic doctors typically support more natural measures for healing. And Carol seemed to feel that holistic doctors were being bludgeoned to death.
No, just killed. I'm going to see him again at the beach. I'm going to bring him to your radio show.
Well, we would love to have him, but
I have a
would.
friend that has cancer, and she's had it now for 2 years. She isn't doing no chemo. She's doing all cannabis and natural stuff.
Yeah.
She seems to be doing okay.
Do you know Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
If you talk to Steve Jobs and you look at Steve Jobs' memoirs, one of Steve Jobs' biggest regrets in his entire life was that he regretted that he didn't go to pharmaceuticals early enough. He had really tried to do holistic. He had tried holistic measures, and he had tried alternative measures to actually treat his cancer. And Steve Jobs felt that was the primary
He thinks he should have went to pharmaceuticals sooner.
Yeah, and I have to agree.
It's too late.
He met his demise, unfortunately. I forget what type of.
Well, pharmaceuticals don't always cure cancer.
Well, pharmaceuticals do some really.
Actually, the chemotherapy. Everybody I know that's got it told me they would never do it again. They
Is
said
that right?
My one friend that had cancer, She can hardly stand on her feet half the time. She had to quit going on the road because of that.
Do you know how chemotherapy works? This is what chemotherapy does. When you have cancer, when you have oncology, what happens is you have a cell growth. Cell growth is very natural. So what cell growth in chemotherapy, if you have some type of cancer or oncological problem, you have a faster growing cell. So faster growing cancer cells typically grow faster than normal cells. So let's say if I am 50, if I were a cancer cell, I'd grow at the rate of, I'd be 100 right now. So what happens with chemotherapy, what chemotherapy does, it targets faster growing cells. So it kills faster growing cells. And now that's
good and bad cells, though.
Good. This is true. Good and bad cells. And whereas you know what's a fast growing cell?
What's that?
Your hair. Your hair follicles. And I know
That's a good example.
I'm typically doing poorly with my hair. So this is probably a bad subject.
I gave him a suggestion.
What was your suggestion?
We'll talk about it after.
We're going to try some CBD shampoo on that hair, Wallace.
CBD on my hair, I'll tell you.
I think some CBD will help your hair loss.
It's just the process of getting older. That's just the process, and I'm just content with that.
You are.
So,
not even
although
trying to
I don't want
to
lose. Well, no, I'm not really.
Well,
I certainly.
You can bring it back now. They have stuff out there. I was telling him they have a laser thing that you can put on your head.
A laser thing on my head.
A laser cap, and
I think he likes the aging
bring
look.
the hair back.
Really?
I have it on.
He doesn't
my
want
page.
it.
It really does.
Horse shit fertilizer will do it.
Yeah, it probably will.
We'll do it on Lee's head.
Yeah. So, looking at some of the other things that are available, there's Cushy Punch. Is that a guest? We have a studio guest. Okay. Who's?
This is a caller.
Oh, this is a caller.
Yeah, Alfie.
Hey.
To call in.
Oh, we're lucky to have on the line Alfie. Alfie, how are you?
I'm doing just good. Just great.
Good, Alfie. Today's our Halloween edition of Mondays with Wallace, and I am Wallace, of course. So, do you eat a lot of candies? I know you had mentioned, I think, in the past that you maybe had a little diabetes, but we were looking at some of the edibles that are available and some of the infused edibles with cannabis. Is that something you've tried, or do you typically eat a lot of edibles?
No, I don't ingest cannabis. I don't smoke it anymore.
Have you ever tried edibles? You never tried a chocolate bar with some weed in it?
I've never tried it, no.
Yeah. What did you think about Carol's, I don't know if you had heard, but Carol had said that what we're seeing is a lot of holistic doctors are being either killed or assaulted. Have you heard anything like that?
I've seen too many stories of the suspicious death of holistic doctors, and I got to tell you, I do not dismiss it. I fully believe it because they're a threat to a huge, $1 billion pharmaceutical industry.
Can't put it past anybody.
It's not a lie. I'm telling you.
I believe. No,
has lost COVID. The black girl recently, they found her stabbed in her house.
Is that right?
Yes.
But the problem that I would have with that is what would be our motivation? If you look at...
Well, having what we have in office, and those type of people are all his people, they'll kill anybody. They'll do anything they can to save money because they're so greedy. They're greedy.
Well, there's big money.
Look how they're putting small weed stores out of business because they want the business.
I'll tell you, I really think we're going to probably turn that around. Some of the legislation that's right now intact is really prohibitive to small businesses like yourself, Stephen. So I think what you're seeing, particularly with some of the legislation, is like a lot of the smaller companies are being put out of business, and a lot of the agencies are becoming very predatory with some of the smaller guys, and they're taking everything. They really are. There's a really landmark case going on right now in Colorado wherein they're actually suing. And you know, in Colorado, there's a very interesting case going on in Colorado. They're actually suing federally a state agency just because they have allowed a cannabis to be sold, and someone, I guess, they feel their property value is being hurt. So it's and they're using federal statutes.
This is in Colorado.
Yeah, they're using federal statutes to actually sue a state agency. So that's really quite interesting. But there is big money here, and me being a pharmacist, I feel threatened too. I think all the agencies feel threatened by cannabis.
Well, you know, you don't have to worry if you start learning more about it, because then you could be
Good.
more of a pharmacist.
The more
for
knowledgeable you are, the
cannabis.
less fear.
Yeah, you'll
We've
make
got-
money that way.
That's the purpose of this show, is to make people more knowledgeable.
We want to
So they
make
don't
people
fear
more
it.
knowledgeable. Even the beer, you know, the Budweiser people, they're actually being threatened by cannabis. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but they've seen a lot of their sales have dropped off by people in favor of cannabis. So
It's a
it's huge.
Good statistic right there. People rather smoke a joint than go get a cold beer.
Well,
I got a question for you, Wallace.
please.
Why is it so difficult for you to believe that people will kill for profit, they'll lie for profit, they'll bribe for profit? This is all about profit. If you've got people sitting in jail for selling marijuana, and now you've got those rich people, already rich, who will come forward and pay the politicians to put together regulations and ordinances that shut those people out so they can make the profit. I don't understand, why are you so reluctant to accept that?
You think people are good, but man, they're greedy.
Well,
Can't put it past them.
for one thing, I think people are fundamentally good, for one thing. And I know it's business, but okay, if you have a business strategy that wants to kill someone off or you want to defeat someone, you can't go and kill people. You just can't. That's
Are you related to-
Come on.
Are you
Don't do
related
it.
to
I apologize. Am I related to what?
You know, Alfie, years ago, Wallace came up with a pill for a hangover.
Oh, I did.
And Wallace got greedy. Instead of taking the 3 or 5 cents they would give him, which he probably would have made millions and millions. Remember that, Wallace?
Oh, she's
he
right
didn't
about that.
do it, but I remember when he created that. He wouldn't even be sitting here. He'd be on a yacht somewhere right now.
I remember the hangover pill,
I-
man.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I remember it.
Well, actually, I still have it. In fact, it's called Rebound Vitamins, and I still have it. Although I have been somewhat dormant with it, but I still have
You
it.
didn't
But
have to be
I believe.
dormant. What caused you to be dormant? Greed.
Somebody offered you a deal for it?
Yeah, someone did offer me a
was
deal for
offered
it.
a deal.
Yeah, but you know, I'll tell you, Alfie, I believe in people, and I do believe in pharmacy because I'm a pharmacist, and that's my principle. I try to have people be knowledgeable, and we want to be knowledgeable about our society. And I would hate to feel that I would take the tack that society is bad or society, we're going to kill the people that are doing well. So I would hate to take that position.
There's nothing wrong with thinking or looking at the good in people, but at some point you have to be realistic about it. Are you related to Lee?
Am I related to Lee? No, I'm not. But Lee, of course, is our producer, and Lee is wearing one of my shirts today, which I'm really happy and thankful for. Anyone like a Los Angeles Flight 420?
Well, I didn't get a shirt.
You didn't get a shirt? Well, I have to give you a shirt. But Lee and I are not related. But
Well, Lee has smoked weed in the past.
Lee has.
Yes, you think he hasn't smoked weed? Lee, tell him.
Well,
Back in the day, I did.
so Stephen, is
At Woodstock.
were you actually at Woodstock? You know, I actually have Woodstock tickets at my house. If you ever come to my house, I actually have 4
Probably
Woodstock.
worth money.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and they're
Did you do acid too?
no, they're unused tickets. They're unused tickets. I have 4 unused tickets at my house.
Maybe $1,000.
You know, I could probably get $1,000 from. I've not put them on.
More than 1,000.
Yeah,
How come you didn't go to Woodstock? You weren't interested?
Well, I think Woodstock. When did Woodstock take place? In 1969. So I was only 9 years old during the Woodstock years.
How did you get them?
A friend of mine had, I think, needed some money at the time, and she had asked me if I would be interested in making her a loan, and I made her a loan, and she says, "You can, why don't you just take these tickets?" And yeah, sure, I'll take them. I'll show them to if you ever over, I'll show them to you.
Those in your safe deposit
Yeah,
box.
yeah.
I hate to tell you, there were no tickets.
Yes, there were. I guarantee you they were. I guarantee you they would.
Well,
Somebody
how much
made some
money
tickets
did
after
you
the fact,
lend her? How much money did you lend this
Somebody
woman?
made up some
There were
tickets 10
tickets
years
to-
later.
Okay, well, I must
How
have.
much money did you lend this woman?
It was $200.
Oh, well, that's not much.
But
Have
there-
you seen
there
her
was-
since?
I have not seen her since.
Oh,
She got you, man.
One thing that's
She
notorious.
went to Kinko and
One thing
Payco.
that's notorious about Woodstock is there was a certain population there that snuck in without paying, and I guess Lee Michaels, our producer, is one of those people.
no, Lee
But
was
there
one
were
of your
says the tickets are
radio
fake.
people.
there were definitely tickets because I have them. I'll show them to you.
They're real.
I guarantee you they're real.
I would
guarantee-
love to see how we can figure out if those tickets are real.
I guarantee you those tickets.
We
Send
gotta
your
see.
interest to the farm, taking cash only.
Okay.
No checks, no credit card. 1969.
How much
I
was it to
see.
get in there, you know?
It was
Couple
like
bucks?
50 bucks or something like that. I was with some rich cats. They
Where
paid
was Woodstock?
Oh, here we go.
New York. It was on a farm.
Oh, okay.
But I guarantee you there were tickets.
It was outdoor in the mud.
Yeah. I guarantee you there were tickets, but at least I have the tickets. I'll bring them. I'll bring them next week, and you can look at them. Were people smoking weed at Woodstock?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Speed.
Oh, is that right? Is that right?
What if they smoking weed?
That was like the Coachella before it was
They were
Coachella.
doing acid. They weren't just smoking weed.
They were doing acid. They were doing. Oh man.
Mescaline.
You know, my question, if we can talk about
Well,
Woodstock,
you know what? It does say online there were tickets.
I guarantee you there were tickets because I have four of them. Oh, it's okay. Lee Michaels was
Lee
my
was going to
producer.
try to get those to tell him he was fake and sell them a little bit later. That's what Lee
no,
was going to do.
Lee is
No,
also.
he offered you 1,000. They're saying that's what they'd be worth about.
Yeah.
50 to 1,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
1,000.
No, I have no desire to sell them. I have them at my house, and there's a few things I have at my house that I'm really grateful for. You know what I wonder when you look at Woodstock then, and you look at drugs today. What's the difference? That drugs back then, people seem to be functional, but today people that get on crack and heroin, they seem to just perilously go down. When I had initially moved to Cleveland, I lived in a really nice place, and there were a lot of, I thought to be professional people, and they were able to indulge in drugs, at least I thought. And they still were functional. They still had jobs, whereas today, you see a lot, especially in the neighborhood, you see a lot of people that are on crack and they
Non-functional
seem,
drug addicts.
they're not
They're
functional.
lost.
Yeah.
Their mind is no longer there.
Do you think it's because the drugs are so much stronger today?
I do believe there's a difference in the drugs between then and now. Big
Yeah,
difference.
but when
Even in the
people
weed.
used to do
There's a
heroin,
huge
they
difference in
used
weed.
years ago.
The percentage of THC is far greater.
I'm sorry, Alfie?
The percentage of THC
You can
is
take
far greater in the marijuana today than it was when I was smoking.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I imagine so. Nowadays, and I've never one to have smoked, but I've been around, and I've been in a car where you get this contact high.
The hot box.
The hot box, yeah. I've been in a car where we've done that, and you've got this contact high. And well, marijuana today, if and I'm not much of a smoker, but you can open up a bottle. Like if we opened up some weed in a bottle here, it would get you high.
It would reek up the entire studio.
Yeah, and that's because it's just stronger.
It's definitely stronger.
No, I think weed was strong years ago because I remember being in my car driving and thinking the cops were chasing me. I jumped out of my car and left, and I was running.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember thinking people were running behind me coming home at times. I can smoke weed now, and I don't ever get that feeling.
Oh, is that right?
Nah.
It wasn't weed, Carol.
No, it was weed.
I
It
think
was
with the
weed.
technology, we've just have new strains that have been introduced over time. Back in the day, they didn't have the technology to go out and find all these different strains. But as we proceed now, people are going all over the world to find new strains of marijuana.
I see. So marijuana is just stronger, you think?
I believe it's definitely
Well,
stronger.
it's certainly more exact.
I talked to my parents, and people, they smoked it back, and then they called it stress back in the day. It was stress. It was like kind of Bobby Brown. They didn't always have the green stuff. It went from stress to chronic to kush.
And when you bought weed, it had the seeds and everything in it.
And
That's
weed-
the stress right there.
Weed
That's why I
doesn't
can
typically
roll
have
a joint.
seeds anymore.
He's got a pee.
Yeah.
Want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, when you make the candy, we're talking about candies. When you make the candy, is there a certain amount? Like, how do you know how much cannabis is in the candy? Looking at, let's say, the jelly.
It's usually dosed out by grams. If you get a candy bar, it's going to say it has 20 grams of marijuana or this percentage of marijuana. It's usually measured and dosed out. And the way they do this is they infuse butter.
Even in candy.
Yeah. And then for the gummies, they use something else. But for all the chocolate products, they use butter. For the gummies, I forget what they infuse it with.
I'm going to read here. We have a cannabis lollipop, and what you need here is mentions you need cannabis tincture. So, and I imagine cannabis tincture is the precipitate.
So a tincture would be something like you extract the THC from the weed and you turn it into an oil or liquid base, and that's what a tincture is. They use the tincture for drinks too. We use a tincture for alcohol. We
is
do
that right?
infused alcohol, and we use a tincture.
Yeah. Have you ever had the vodka Jello shots? Have you ever had those?
I've had vodka Jello shots. You got to try our weed vodka Jello shots though.
Have you ever had the vodka shots, Alfie?
I don't drink alcohol at all. I don't touch it.
Have you ever drank alcohol?
Never.
Never.
Wow.
I have when I would say a sophomore in high school, 16, 17, when I was on my job around Christmas. We drank a half a pint. I drank a half a pint of JB.
Well, you know that's one thing that I know you're not a Donald Trump fan, and I'm not much of a fan too. But Trump doesn't drink alcohol either, by the way. But I know we're not Donald Trump fans here. But you also need. It says a lollipop.
I believe that.
Yeah, he doesn't drink alcohol. Yes, or he claims he's never drank
I
it.
did see him take some champagne on
Oh, is that right?
at a ceremony.
Well, the thing
took a toast.
The thing with Trump lies profusely. It's just amazing the ability of that guy just to lie profusely. It's really disappointing. What's really sad about politics, generally speaking, if you look at the Republican Party, Republican Party, and it's been hijacked by Trump, and I'm not a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but the Republican Party used to stand for something. They used to stand for being, either... we didn't want a deficit, or they didn't want. They used to say again.
And being what? Have you?
No, I mean that. But the Republican Party used to stand for something.
They never stood for no deficit. Have you ever seen the papers, the two Santa Clauses? The name of the article is Two Santa Clauses. You ought to read that. The Two Santa Clauses. Republicans run. Under Ronald Reagan, and starting with Ronald Reagan, the debt went up higher under every Republican president. Reagan, W. Bush, H.W. Bush. The only time the debt has ever gone down, or the least amount of increase, was under Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Other than that, the debt is over the top. So when Barack Obama came in, what did they begin to yell? Oh, the debt. Oh, our national debt this, our national debt that. But they didn't say a thing about Bush putting 2 wars on the books. They didn't say a thing about the Medicare drug increase. They raised the debt, but see, Wallace, this is what they tell you. This is what money and advertising buys: the perception, the propaganda that they are getting. You ever heard of the boy who wants to shrink government and shrink government and drown government in the bathtub?
Well, I'm going to be retiring within the next few years, so I'm certainly concerned about the deficit and our debt, and particularly for my kids and my grandkids. And to be honest with you, I probably, Alfie, I probably drank the Kool-Aid, because they were saying that, when Republicans were running for something, they were saying, oh, we're going to reduce the deficit. Oh, we're going to balance and maybe I was naive to believe it, but I actually believed, and our economy is good now. And when your economy is good, that's when you pay down your debt. When you have a lot of, well, I guess it must be fake news, because it's disappointing to me, because the economy's good now, and that's when you pay down your debt. That's when you balance your books.
It's not that the economy is so great now. You're looking at about 97 straight months of a recovery. And all but 18 of that goes to Barack Obama. Here's another situation where Trump is on third base and thought he hit a triple. So he's going to take credit for a resurging economy that was already on the uptick. We've created so many jobs. Last year, he didn't create as many jobs as Obama did in his last year.
I agree with you fully. I agree with you completely.
What happens is you drink the Kool-Aid and fall victim to the propaganda. And when people, that's what frames the narrative in this country.
You're absolutely right, and and I'm not a Republican, or I typically vote Democrat, but I was really hoping that, because when the country does well, you should pay down your debt, and I think the future of the company is really in jeopardy if we're not able to pay down our debt. It really concerns me.
Both of you guys keep saying the economy is doing well. What's telling you guys the economy is doing well right now? I thought it was kind of rough out here.
Well, when you look at unemployment being in the 4 point, that is typically, when you look at when Barack Obama...
Yeah, but see, unemployment now, you can be off work for 2-3 years. They don't let you stay on unemployment, but I believe a year. So that's why it looks like it's down. That doesn't mean people have jobs.
Well, it's still, though, there's more money coming in when you look at businesses.
Look, Wallace. Look.
Yeah.
When Barack Obama became president, the animus against Barack Obama wasn't just from Republicans, it was from corporations, too. And the corporations figured that they would squirrel their money overseas. And that's what they did. They sat on $6 trillion or more because they didn't want to bring it back into the country, because they didn't want to pay their fair share of taxes. That inhibited our growth. You have a Republican Party who fought against this previous president for 8 years. Country be damned. And now here comes Trump. The corporations are all gleeful in helping out the economy. And this is what you are witnessing. Our biggest fight should be against the bankers, the corporations.
I completely agree. Completely. And to be honest, it's very disappointing to me where the country's at, and how do we get better? Who do you feel is going to run for office next political or next presidential election? Who do you feel is going to be our next president, Alfie?
Let me put it like this. I don't worry that much about that. Right now, I'm simply looking for the ability to grab the Democratic Party around the neck and drag it back to a progressive agenda, drag it back to the left, because they have slowly been hopping, skipping toward the center, toward the right. And look at what you live in California. Jerry Brown raised taxes on the wealthy. And look at your state. Your state went from 26 billion in the hole to over 8 billion surplus. Look in Kansas. Brownback, he cut taxes. And then the state damn near went bankrupt, and he had to increase taxes again. He cut schools, he cut health care, he cut all of the children's necessities. So
well, I think you're going to look at this time and think this is an amazing time for economic growth, just with all of the, when you just look at Uber, Uber's ability for people to get places, to stimulate the economy. I think even the cannabis, if you look at cannabis, although they're a little over the top as far as the regulations, I mean, it's just a booming time. I mean, the amount of money, I think cannabis actually added $400 million to Colorado, and it's going to do the same in California, I think. So, you know, again, we're back to looking at, we're still, this is our Halloween candy.
So how do you feel about that, since you're against cannabis, that it's going to help California? Because we are number 6 in the world top producing California.
You know, I can't imagine, and I think Alfie's going to agree with me. Is that right? Do you agree with me, Alfie?
Agree with you on what?
Well, do you agree with me that it's not in our best interest of our country for people to be walking around high?
I agree with you on some point of that.
So Alfie agrees.
We walked around half of the last 5 decades.
No.
Seriously, we walked around half of the last 5 decades.
I don't like all the drivers on the road smoking weed. I don't like it.
The people have smoked weed for years and driven.
Doesn't make it right.
But I'm saying
there's so many high people on the road now. Accidents are up.
I never got in anything drive. I see more drunk drivers, to be honest.
Cell phone and weeds do not go together.
Well, that's because I agree with the cell phones.
I drove a truck for 27 years high, okay?
Yeah, that's kind of scaring me there, Alfie.
Don't be afraid. You're safe now. I'm retired.
Yeah, I know, and you've had a productive life, I'm told. But let me just real quickly finish how you make the lollipops, because people want to know how you make lollipops. So I guess you need lollipop mold, you need a candy thermometer, natural sugar, half cup of
Carol
corn.
Syrup?
Okay, what type of sugar?
Carol. I know. I used to make candy. I mean, not.
Oh, is that right?
Candy.
So when you make candy, did you just make candy?
Well, you use the thermometer because you want it. You can have candy that's soft, so the thermometer helps you because you put it in your finger. You dip it in some water, and it'll tell you if it's soft or if it's hard. If you want hard, then when you keep testing it, it'll be hard.
But how do you make candy? Now this is confusing.
Sugar, butter, different ways. It depends.
But you can make it harder. So I'm told you actually you combine your sugar and your syrup and clean filtered water. You boil it. Is that what you do? You boil it?
Yeah, you boil.
Is this hard candy or chocolate?
Oh well, I think we're talking about hard candy.
Well, chocolate,
or gummy bear.
In a double burner.
In a double burner.
You take a pot and put water underneath, because they used to have double pots, and put your chocolate over it so it doesn't burn. I grew up. My mother made us make stuff.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
I do know to make a sucker.
So
if you're going to make a sucker, when you test it, it's got to be hard when you roll it.
So at what point would you put the cannabis in, and how would you pick the cannabis, Stephen?
So the cannabis is going to be in a tincture already. It's going to be dosed out and measured into a tincture already. After you have that tincture, you just look in your recipe steps, and you want to add that somewhere to your recipe steps. I've never made hard candy before. I've only done a lot of chocolates and brownies and baked goods. Never done gummies and hard candy. I do want to try it, though. Yeah. So when you add how do you know if it's too strong or not strong enough? Or it's dosed out. It's measured out. So, I mean, you just got to try it, too. You really got to sample it, and different people can take different doses of edibles. Somebody like me has a higher tolerance than somebody that's first trying it. Right. I eat edibles often.
You say you do eat edibles?
I do. I eat them. I prefer to smoke flower, but I do eat edibles often.
What does smoke flower mean?
So I'd rather smoke a joint than to eat an edible to get high.
No, I used to make edibles, and I would just cut the recipe way down. With
When you say
with the
you would-
weed butter. My daughter and me used to make the butter.
Okay, so how did you get the butter? How did you get butter? Is
She
that
would
where
buy-
you
we
crush?
would buy
take the-
shake? Shake's very expensive now. At one time you could get shake for cheap, and you could put it in a pressure cooker or put it in a crock pot. And
shake is the cannabis.
what at one time when we used to roll joints, I sound like a pro now.
Well,
You
I mean,
would
this is-
separate your weed, so you would have a little card. You'd pull the seeds and that. But shake is the part.
Shake is
yeah,
great
he'll
for
explain it
edibles.
to you.
So
That's-
when you have marijuana, you have the buds. The buds is the really good, the great part of the weed. That's the part that you sell. That's the profitable part. But people don't take the shake and throw it away anymore. Shake is all the dust that falls off the plant. There's a lot of dust that falls off the plants, and when you grind up the weed, it gets into like a sand consistency. Shake is all a lot of people call it Babbage too, or like swag. You used
But
the
now
word
they
swag
sell
on the
the
last
shake
show,
real
but
high.
now people are making use of the shake. Shake is wonderful. I get shake all the time, and I make butter out of it.
You make butter out of
Make
the
Now,
butter
do
out
you
of the
make
shake.
yours in a crock pot or
Crock pot,
yeah.
easy. You go on YouTube and you get a crock pot recipe. What you do is you sit it in the crock pot overnight, maybe about 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours, and then you go and get cheesecloth and you strain the weed particles out of the butter. You don't want little bitty pits of weed in your butter and in your recipe and in your chocolate. So you strain it out with a cheesecloth and you get a perfect butter, a green butter. It actually makes the butter turn green, the color of the marijuana.
Oh, is that right?
Extremely
Now, my
potent.
daughter used to make like an olive oil you could put on your pasta.
We make the
So,
olive oil
yeah.
too. People love to cook with it. People use
I
it for
gave
their
somebody
fishes
a
and
juice thing like
vegetables,
that filled with
and it's potent. It's
And this is
definitely
what you would
potent.
make the candy with. You would make it with
a lot
shake.
of the olive they used to spread on toast or stuff. But yeah, you make your candy from wheat butter, from the butter.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't do the full recipe. Let's say a recipe calls for 2 cups of something. You cut it down. So that's what makes it stronger is the less you use of the real recipe, the stronger they are. At least I find that out. I don't bake them anymore. I used to. About a year ago.
If I were to, I mean, it's hard for me to resist gummy bears, and there seems to be a lot of a lot of the
People like
cannabis.
the gummy bears or what, the Jolly Rogers?
Oh my God, there
Raptors or
just
whatever.
seems to be.
worms.
Yeah.
They're
I
just
believe people put the tincture inside of the glycerin.
inside the glycerin.
Glycerin is in gummy bears.
Right.
Glycerin.
Yeah,
and I
that
believe that's the part that people put the tincture in, and then they do the recipe as normal.
glycerin is one of those things that we really do quite commonly in pharmacy. And I guess what my question is, when we're doing the edibles, what do we do to make it to keep it around? So are there preservatives in it, or
There's no preservatives in it. Edibles do go bad. I mean, with chocolate or with anything else, it does have a shelf life.
oh, is that right? And that would typically be like 2 or 3 weeks, or
I think more like 2 to 4 months.
2 to 4 months.
If it's just in a cool environment, if you put it in the refrigerator, it's going to last longer. You can also freeze your edibles, your chocolate and things
Yeah, I
like
have
that.
frozen.
You can freeze them.
Yeah.
Keep your shelf life up longer.
How much cannabis or marijuana is typically in an edible? I thought 5 grams. But is that maybe 1 gram or?
They're supposed to max out at 200 milligrams. 200 milligrams, they're not supposed to. Legally, it's not supposed to be more than 200 milligrams in an edible. I say it only takes you about 20 to 25 milligrams to get high.
Yeah. Oh, what concerns me is if you're not really careful, you can typically overdose on cannabis here.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think what we're seeing a lot, even with at hospitals. We're seeing people that are coming in and that have had just too much. And usually, although I don't, there's been some concern that there's been fatalities. But I think there's been fatalities with more of the synthetic cannabis. Is that something that you think they would be useful, synthetic cannabis with the candies?
Oh, synthetic, it's just all bad. It's fake weed. It's not good for you. It can cause fatalities. Now, with the edibles, people are overdosing because they're not used to it. They need to start with a little bit at a time and then work their way up. I know a young lady, she gave her boyfriend a 200 milligram chocolate bar.
200 milligrams?
200 milligrams.
Uh-huh.
And her boyfriend was in the hospital, and he was
is that
tripping
right?
out. He had a really bad trip in the hospital, and the doctors at the hospital said, all we can do is give you water. All we can do is hook you up to an IV and we'll give you water. They said, you're high. It has to pass through your bloodstream.
Yeah, that's
So
typically
people are
what we do.
overdosing commonly.
You typically manage the symptoms. Usually, if you're ever in the hospital, what we typically do is manage you with some Benadryl, some either Ativan, and some Haldol.
Get you to calm down.
To get you to calm down. That's what we typically would try to do. It's
Gummy bears.
I guess it's something that's pretty common, and I guess we're going to have to try to measure it out. But what I understand is that you would typically, if you had 50 grams of cannabis, you could make 50 gummy bears. So I think having 1 gram, it's
Per
just
gummy?
titrating it. Do you actually weigh it?
Weigh
You say
out what?
50 grams. The what is the stuff that you called it?
The tincture?
Tincture.
The tincture is tested to see how much weed is in the tincture. It's tested. It's put into a machine, and they can test out the percentage of the THC that's in the tincture.
If you take an edible, how long does it take longer to absorb or to get into your system, or does it stay in your system longer?
Excellent question. When you smoke a joint, you pretty much get a head high as soon as you inhale and exhale that. You get a buzz from it. With the edible, once you eat the edible, I say it takes at least 5 to 15 minutes to kick in. You don't feel it just instantly like that. But you got to be careful because it will sneak up on you.
Is that right? Is that right? Yeah, I worry about in myself, and I guess what I'm more concerned about is I'm more afraid. The reason why I haven't really tried marijuana so much is just the whole point of me being, and I'm so busy, but me being just distracted or me not having.
You don't want to be just
a loss
stoned
of
and stuck on the
faculties.
See, I
couch.
don't eat edibles. I make them, but I would give them to people. I did find a recipe though for
Gummy
gummy
bears.
edibles.
Oh, can I see your recipe?
Yeah. Just don't let it move.
Yeah.
They use Jello.
Jello, and I
gives
guess another recipe we
Well,
have
that's
is
what would make it-
four
give it that
tablespoons
jelly.
of cannabis tincture, 1 ounce of unflavored gelatin, a half cup of sugar-free Jello, half cup of cold water, silicone candy molds, and cooking oil spray. Carol, that seems pretty simple. That seems really simple, and what we're seeing, the product seems to be a really nice product. I wonder, is that something you could actually sell?
Absolutely.
What do you think it would sell for? I'm just curious. If you were,
Somebody should come up with a cookbook for edibles.
yeah, I wonder.
Recipes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful idea. A cookbook for edibles. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. But I say a pack of gummies will go anywhere $20 to $30.
20 to 30 bucks.
20
for a
$30.
pack. Is that right? Is that right? And how much is a weed? How much does weed go nowadays?
I say an eighth. The average price on an eighth right now is, I say, $40 to $50.
On an eighth?
If you go to the hood right now, the average price in the hood is, I say, $20 to $25.
Is that right?
Same weed, same exact weed, but if you're talking about the hood, and then you're talking about the dispensaries, the street price in the hood, all the places on Florence and Compton and Inglewood, $20 to $25 for an eighth of weed. That's 3.5 grams. 3.5 grams.
What do you think What do you think is the likelihood of let's say trick or treat people trick or treating? What do you think is the likelihood of someone getting weed during trick or treaters?
Wow. Back in the day, I would say the likelihood wasn't possible, but now in 2018, somebody's going to be giving away edibles for Halloween.
You think so?
Somebody.
Yeah,
Not
you
to
know-
children, but to adults at their party and things
But
like
they'll
that.
do it with kids to be funny. When my kids trick or treated, I actually didn't really let them keep the candy.
You didn't let kids keep the candy?
Because
No, I
people
had
could do
a
anything
candy
to that
that
candy,
I
huh?
bought, and they could have that.
That's how my mom
Alfie, are you
was.
still with us? Oh, he's gone. We give out candy, and I love giving out candy. That's, one of the things that my wife typically does. I mean, she really
Well, you probably
decorates.
get a lot of people.
We get a ton of people, and I really enjoy it.
Coming to your house this year.
Oh my God, you should just to come and to give out the candy. It's just wonderful.
You guys decorate the house too?
We decorate the house. We have the fireplace going. It's just a wonderful time for us, and I think we've embraced it almost as much as any holiday. And it's driven economically, by the way. Halloween has become just financially profitable. So, and I think that's the thing with marijuana. Marijuana really, if you really look at cannabis and marijuana, the reason it's become accepted is because there's a profit margin, and a very good profit margin. And unfortunately, it seems like they're moving away from people, the small guy making money, and it's becoming more of a corporate thing.
Isn't that what they normally do, the greedy?
Yeah, I think
That's
you're
what I
right.
call them, the greedy.
Yeah,
They just can't have enough money. It has to be more, 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 more.
it's
Instead of letting like the little mama papa stores. Now even their big stores are closing because of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
now
I think-
everything's going online.
I
Now,
think-
what if you don't have a credit card? How do you go online?
You're right. I think that our society is really being divided by just the economy and people. What about people who don't have credit cards? Look at my mom. My mom, she's not someone that would use a credit card so much, and it's really unfair to look at people that are recently incarcerated. People that are getting out of jail, they don't really have bank accounts, and a lot of people don't have bank accounts. So
They
that's
probably have hidden money though.
no, I mean,
Maybe I'm
it's still a challenge to open up a bank account. By the way,
Absolutely.
if you have poor credit or you haven't established credit, it's really trouble opening up a bank account. It's really hard, So anyway, so we were looking at again making lollipops, and I love your ideas, Carol. Is there a favorite when you said we do the SC edibles? Is there a best product?
Absolutely. I would say the lemonades.
The lemonade?
We make lemonades. We make infused lemonades, cannabis infused lemonades, and they are a must have. You got to try one.
Is that right?
We have several flavors. Our best selling flavor is strawberry lemonade. We have original lemonade, and then we have an half and half tea, which is sweet tea. It's a sweet tea mixed with lemonade.
Well, we need to do a cookbook.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's a great idea.
I had looked at doing a cookbook, and you can actually put that on Amazon.
He's saying that because he's still in my thoughts.
I was looking at it.
That is a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I'm totally.
People want to experiment. People love weed. People like to get high. So imagine going home one night and making it a date night. You and your girlfriend making edibles at the house with a cookbook.
Yeah, if it's something that.
And you could have it in sections because, like I said, you can make
Gummies,
oils
chocolates.
that you put on. You can make candy. You can make it in different ways. I mean, I'm surprised nobody's selling infused tea and coffee at events. I mean,
It's a wonderful
what's
thing.
the legal end on it? Can you do it? Because they sell liquor at events. So now
Great
that
idea.
weed is legal, that should be able to be done.
I went to an event maybe about 2 weeks ago, and someone they had a smoothie truck. They were selling coffees and smoothies and something real simple. And then they had add CBD to your drink, not THC, not weed, but CBD, the healing aspect. They made a business out of just for $4 extra with your tea, your smoothie, your coffee, anything. They will add CBD to your drink.
When you add CBD to your drink, do you actually get high?
No, it's not
So
a high
what's-
feeling.
what's
It's supposed
the
to be
point?
more of a healing feeling. It has more beneficial factors to you. If we look up the benefits of CBD, if anybody in the studio can Google it for us, there's many benefits to CBD. Anxiety, stress, insomnia, pain relief. You're not going to get high from CBD, but there's healing aspects from CBD that people want. People want these healing aspects from the marijuana plant. They don't want to
Really
get
helped
high.
my shoulder.
Not interested in getting high at all. These people don't want to feel high. These people want to get the healing aspect of marijuana without having to smoke it.
I can't imagine. So if something's going to help you with anxiety, typically the pharmaceutical products that we have, and let's say you came to me and you had some anxiety, we would typically treat that with a benzodiazepam, a Valium, or
That sounds horrible, man.
something that would actually make you drowsy or lethargic. So are you feeling that the CBD oil would treat your anxiety without calming? How I don't understand how it would calm you.
Well, I think the drops when you can buy
Exactly.
them.
You got to
I
do
the
some research on
drops sometimes.
CBD. CBD has many healing factors to it. So I think it's great with anxiety. I think it really would. They say it helps fight cancer. It helps reduce the risk of diabetes. It helps with sleep. It helps with seizures. There's a lot of benefits to CBD. And for anxiety, I think it'll be a good thing to try.
I hate to be a skeptic, but I don't think any of that's proven. I think that's all.
Well, that's why we need to do
hypothetical.
more research so we can prove this stuff.
I
So
think
that
it
we can
has
tell the
been
difference
proven
between
to
the
an extent.
pharmaceuticals. Yeah. A lot of this stuff has been researched on. They've been doing research with seizures and CBD for a long time.
I think there's some value with seizures, but you had mentioned that you had some either trauma or some pain.
I was in an auto accident.
I
I have nerve damage, and I use CBD. It's a pain relief. It's a CBD pain relief, and I use it every single morning and the evenings when I go to bed, and it really helps me with my pain.
More than a Vicodin?
Well, I'm allergic to Vicodin. I can't take Vicodin. I pass out, and I have a bad reaction to Vicodin.
Is that right?
So they prescribe other painkillers to me as well, and I don't like the way they make me feel. It's kind of a nauseated feeling. When you take these pain pills, some people like how it feels. They get addicted to that feeling, and they take it and everything, but
that's certainly a major problem.
The way the pain pills make me feel, I don't like the feeling. It's not a good feeling. Yeah, it may take away the pain for a matter of time, but the feeling that I go through, it's an addiction. You got to keep taking that pill over and over, and I don't like the feeling. If that's how I got to treat pain, is popping pills, that's not it. Maybe I can just rub some ointment on it and get a different relief.
The thing that, I'll tell you, marijuana or cannabis is similar to morphine or Vicodin in some respects, in that it's a transition drug. Many times people that actually take, let's say, cannabis, they move on to stronger things, and let's say heroin. And I know that's not the case with you.
They call it a gateway drug.
Gateway drug, exactly. That was the phrase.
They say people start out in elementary and in high school, they try marijuana one time, and then they say it's a gateway drug. After that, they try coke, or they try this, or they try that. They say it's a gateway drug, but every individual is different.
I think Vicodin and Norco, I think those are gateway drugs also, in that people kind of go to the same direction.
You're right.
Whereas they'll try methamphetamine or just
I know
because
friends
if you
that
can't,
were popping Vicodins in high school, and now you look at them, they're popping more serious pills. They're popping ecstasy. They're popping these hardcore pills now. Xanax.
Yeah.
Xanax is something I hear in the streets all the time. I don't know what it is, but I know these guys are taking
doctors
it.
Constantly want to give somebody Xanax.
Xanax, man. All the streets are talking about Xannies. Where the Xanny bars at? Where the Xannies at? I don't know what it is, but people want it.
Yeah, it's gotten too much. But my personal opinion, my personal feeling is that we're probably over medicating our society right now. And I think
financial benefits. They're over medicating the society for financial benefits.
The problem with the financial benefits is that tends to make the weed stronger. That tends to make even the Vicodin, let's say Norco or Vicodin, a big problem that one of the companies got into is they could make the oxycodone as strong as they wanted. They could make it, whereas it's a 5 milligrams is a typical dose, they easily could come up with an 80 milligram dose. And I think marijuana or cannabis may be the same in that they can make it stronger or better or more powerful, or they can addict you. They can make your gummy bears, and they can make them red. Or
see, that is the issue with so many people having products out there. This stuff isn't being tested. It's not going to the Food and Drug Administration. That's the scary part if you really look at it. There's so many mom and pops out there. There's so many guys making these vape pens in their garages now. And who's to say if this is safe or if that's safe or if they use gloves or if they wash their hands? It's scary. Imagine somebody making gummies and brownies for you, and this person's just not a clean person. And they're in their kitchen and they're cooking these things for you. It's scary.
Yeah,
people are taking all these products out there, and it's just not enough regulation in place to make sure it's tested and safe for the public use.
This is Mondays with Wallace. I'm Wallace. We were talking about cannabis as we do every week. Today was our Halloween edition, and I'll be giving out candy at my place in Playa. Anybody that wants to come by. This is just about going to wrap it up. I want to thank everyone.
You won't give your address?
God, I won't give my address. If you know my address, you're welcome to come by. I usually it's very relaxing at my house.
Make sure you guys go and check out the new Halloween movie too. That looks good. I want to see it.
Oh, it does look like a good movie. It really does.
Really well.
Oh yeah, it really is doing well.
I like how they kept the storyline going on.
Oh my God!
They've had about 4 or 5 of them.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I've seen. I haven't seen the new movie.
Oh yeah,
I've seen all of the ones previous to this.
The new movie seems.
Did you see the one she's in the mental institution?
Yes.
I did her hair for that.
Amazing.
Carol, we were supposed to talk about Michael Jackson or hair. That was one of our shows. Maybe we'll do that next week. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank our guest, Steve Cotton from SC Edibles. I want to thank
for having me.
Lee Michaels and Carol Lemire. This is Mondays with Wallace. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
We'll see you.